He sent 12 of his personal slaves to the mountain peaks in July. 3 full days of climbing, 3 full days coming back, with snow. In Rome, in midsummer heat exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit. 1 million people crammed into one ancient city every single summer, without fans, refrigerators, or any air conditioning anywhere. And yet something remarkable worked here for 5 full centuries. You'd think it was the engineering, the great walls and the arches. But researchers discovered something far more extraordinary than all that. The real underlying system had nothing to do with any buildings. It was already 90 degrees Fahrenheit before 9 in the morning. The city trapped all its heat between 7 ancient and dense stone hills. Mediterranean air, no sea breeze inland, dense stone everywhere. August in Rome was brutally hot, every single year no mercy. And Rome had been actively dealing with the brutal summer heat for centuries. So what exactly did Romans build to survive those brutal summer months? The first answer most people naturally reach for is the architecture. Roman walls were thick, sometimes reaching 3 feet of solid stone. That enormous mass absorbed heat slowly and released it throughout the night. Smart design, but there is one serious problem with that answer. 95% of Romans didn't live in stone villas at all. They lived in insulae, 6 or 7-story apartment buildings. Thin walls, shared courtyards, everyone tightly crammed together. Top-floor apartments ran 15 full degrees hotter than street level. In a 100-degree summer, that meant 115 degrees inside. So Roman engineering only helped the wealthy minority at all. What actually kept the other 900,000 ordinary people alive? Part of the answer was hidden in the architectural layout of streets. The streets between insulae were only 3 to 5 meters wide. At noon, the surrounding buildings cast complete shadow on the ground below. The street became a long cooling corridor, completely by accident. Roman city planners weren't thinking about airflow or any shade at all. Focused on real estate, fit more buildings inside the walls. But the shadow effect cooled the streets far better than anyone had planned. White plaster walls reflected the summer sunlight back into the sky, the exact same principle that modern cities now use to fight urban heat. But the streets only remained in shadow for a small portion of each day. So Rome built a very different and entirely separate second system. 11 aqueducts, 300 million gallons flowing every day. Not for farms, not for open fields, built entirely for the city. Every street corner had a public fountain, continuously cold. You couldn't walk 50 yards in Rome without reaching running water. In that summer heat, cold water flowing freely nearby meant everything. They drank it, splashed themselves, and simply sat beside the stone basin. But the most clever part came inside the homes of the wealthiest Romans. Water piped directly through the stone walls, literally inside. Cold spring water ran inside the brickwork of the building walls. It absorbed the building's heat before it ever reached the living room inside, 2,000 years before any wall cooling was conceived or built. And in the center of each elaborate Roman atrium, the impluvium pool, a shallow stone basin built directly under the open sky above. Rain gathered there, but so did the flowing aqueduct water too. As it evaporated, the whole atrium gradually and measurably cooled. Researchers measured this, 5 to 8 degrees cooler inside. In the rooms immediately beside and adjacent to the impluvium pool. Not air conditioning, but real, measurable cooling inside the city. But this too only existed for Rome's wealthy and privileged minority. The average Roman needed something different, something for everyone else. Rome gave it to them, every day, completely free and open to all. The thermae, public baths, open daily to virtually every Roman. Not for hygiene primarily. In the Roman summer, not even close to that. In summer, the thermi were the air conditioning of ancient Rome. Specifically, the cold plunge, a deep pool maintained near freezing, kept just cold enough to physically shock and reset the entire body. Rich or poor, soldier or senator, every Roman used it daily. In summer heat, most Romans visited the cold plunge twice daily. You'd think a cold bath just felt nice on a very hot afternoon. Modern sports science proved something fundamental about this long ago. Cold water immersion does far more than simply cool your skin's surface. It actually drops your core body temperature by 2 or 3 full degrees, and it stays measurably lower for 3 to 4 full hours afterward. 3 hours of not feeling the full brutal heat of a Roman summer. They didn't understand the physiology, they just knew it consistently worked. Every morning, cold bath first, then go work before the peak heat hits. Conduct all essential business during the cool, early morning window. Which brings us to the real underlying answer behind all of this. The one consistent pattern researchers find in every Roman source. In city records, in legal codes, in every scheduling document. Romans didn't try to cool the city, they rescheduled the whole thing. Business in Rome began before 5 in the morning, without exception. Courts opened at first light, and were all fully complete by 10 a.m. Markets, deliveries, construction, all of it finished well before noon. At noon, complete stop. The whole enormous city simply went still. Shops closed, courts suspended. The Roman Senate went home early. 3 full hours of total rest during the hottest afternoon peak heat. We call it a siesta. Romans called it plain civilizational survival. They didn't fight the oppressive peak heat. They legally avoided it altogether. Business resumed at 3, when the worst of the heat had already dropped. The cold bath, the scheduling, and the shadow streets all worked together. Not 3 separate tricks, one integrated system for the whole city. And there was one additional extraordinary piece to this entire system. In the middle of a Roman summer, ordinary people could actually buy snow. A regular corner, a regular vendor, available every July. The Romans called this shoppa nivaria. It sold one thing only. Not a luxury boutique, a small local business open to any Roman. Where did it originate? Up in the high Apennine mountain peaks above Rome. 60 to 80 miles from the city, permanent snowpack still remained. Teams of men climbed to the top and packed large quantities of snow. Each bag was lined with woven wool, packed straw, and signinum. They hiked down before sunrise to race against the summer rising heat. Fresh relay teams then picked up the full load at the valley floor. 60 miles, 30 hours of movement, still cold on arrival. Underground vaults, sealed to keep the temperature below freezing. Lined with signinum concrete to maintain the cold throughout all of summer. Then sold from street stalls each morning, by the scoop or by the bowl. Pliny wrote that Romans craved cold drinks beyond explanation. He meant it as social critique. It was clearly a very thriving market. A city of 1 million had built a full cold supply chain by hand. No refrigerators, no electricity, pure human logistics. And here is exactly where all of these many pieces finally close together. All of these separate systems point toward the exact same single answer. Romans did not wait patiently for any technology to rescue them. They restructured their bodies, their daily schedule, and their whole city. Cold bath each morning, business done by 10, full rest at noon. Snow on demand, water at every corner, shadow on every street. Not one single answer, a layered whole city heat management system. And the same city running this system hit peak summer heat every year. And it survived 1 million Romans' brutal summer for centuries. Today, European cities are simply shut down by summer heat waves. Officials say, stay inside, close the blinds, and wait it all out. Romans were already walking down to the neighborhood snow shop on the corner,